Hello, my name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. 2,000 subscribers. In the scheme of YouTube, that's nothing, but to me, that is like staggering that that's where we're at. Because I always think about it like if I was in a room with all of y'all, that's like a big ass auditorium I would need to see you all. Like I can't, it's just overwhelming and it's so cool and thank you so much. So I wanted to do a video kind of celebrating 2,000 subscribers if you hadn't caught from the title and what I just said that that's what we're doing. And the way I wanted to celebrate was, first of all, I'm gonna talk about some of my non-book related faves, just because like sometimes people ask random questions about things that I like, and I don't know, I just thought this might be kind of a fun and different way to, like a different type of video than you would normally get from me. So I have a number of different categories that we will go through. And then at the end, we will talk about giveaway stuff, because I did want to do a little giveaway for you guys to celebrate with some of the books that I've really enjoyed recently. Kind of a range of my taste, I think, is reflected in this. We will talk about that at the end, but for now, let's dive into some of my non-book related faves. I'm going to try not to talk too much about these because I could literally make an entire video about each of these things. So I'm gonna try to be disciplined and keep myself moving on this. So let's start with movies and work our way from there. So I broke movies into 3 different categories. I went with sort of like drama-ish, musicals, old Hollywood musicals, because I love those and they needed their own category. And then what I'm calling comedy slash fun, just like movies that maybe are like action or whatever. They're not like serious movies, but they're just kind of fun. So for drama, there's a bunch of different ways I could go with this. I decided to pick like what I think are some of my representative faves. So I would say I really like a lot of classic dramas. So Casablanca, I really like The Maltese Falcon, a bunch of those. But to kind of represent that, probably my consistent fave in classic drama is Alfred Hitchcock. I think I own like almost every movie he's ever made. I like a bunch of them, you know, all the usual faves in terms of, you know, Rear Window and The Birds and Psycho. I mean, all of those I love. I'm gonna say though that my fave is probably Rope, which is not his best movie, but I do just love the innovation in that one with like the attempt to make it like a stage play. I just really like that particular one. I also really like Dial M for Murder. I love Hitchcock, so I picked him as a representative fave. Then 3 movies from the 70s that I absolutely love, because I do like the sort of like new Hollywood of the late 60s and 70s. I enjoy a lot of that. My 3 faves there are All the President's Men, which I have a whole book or movie about, so you guys know I love that. Network, which if I had to pick one, maybe Network would be my all-time favorite movie. I'm not sure, but I adore that movie. It's so prescient and so good, and the everything about it. And then Murder on the Orient Express, the 1970s version. I've also done a book or movie about that one, and I've also done a comparison of the 1970s version that I love to the recently released one that I did not love. So those are my 70s ones. And then, this was so hard because I also was like, Sunset Boulevard, The Pianist, like there's so many. But okay, the last 3 that I narrowed it down to because I thought it represented taste again. First of all, Moonstruck, is probably like right up there behind Network for my all-time favorite movie. I adore it. If you want to see Nicolas Cage like actually act and like get why he is actually a good actor when he's not shilling, watch that. He is a baker, a poetic baker who loves opera with a wooden hand. And it's a romance between him and Cher, kind of, but it's like a family drama. It's just so good. I love Moonstruck. It's also not that long, which is great. Then I also love Silence of the Lambs. That's a movie I have rewatched a lot of times, including when I was a kid, which little judgment on my parents for letting me watch that at age like 8, but whatever. I love The Silence of the Lamb. And then a recent drama that I absolutely loved was Spotlight. I really love investigative journalist type stories. See my obsession with All the President's Men. So I loved Spotlight. I thought that was really well done. Like a beautiful example of an ensemble cast. So those are some of my favorite dramas. Let's move into my favorite Hollywood musicals. I, again, had a really hard time narrowing this down. And also you should know, like, I feel like I should be able to give a couple of like performance faves. My 2 favorite male leads from these are Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, duh. Favorite dancer is Ann Miller from those old musicals, and all-time favorite musical actress is Judy Garland. Like, everyone else bitches go home because she is the queen. So the reason why Easter Parade is my all-time favorite Hollywood musical is because it has Fred Astaire, Judy Garland, and Ann Miller. It doesn't have Gene Kelly. Nothing in life is perfect, but that is my favorite old Hollywood musical. I absolutely love it. And I rewatch it every year at Easter. So there's Easter Parade. Then right behind it, I have The Bandwagon, which is Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse. It's a musical within a musical. So there's a lot of like different variety type numbers that they do. I love The Bandwagon, and it's sort of a lesser known one, but it's really good. Third, I have Meet Me in St. Louis. That's a classic. I like to watch that one at Christmas time because I like the ending where it has all the Christmas stuff. I absolutely love that movie, and it's a lot about family. It's like if you need a movie for Christmas with your family, it's a great choice. Then in terms of my favorite Gene Kelly movie is On the Town. I wish that was a better known one. I mean, it is one of the major ones. I'm not saying people don't know it, but the music in that one is absolutely fantastic. There's some great dance numbers. Yeah, it's just a super good one. And then last but not least is Singing in the Rain. Again, it's kind of a classic, but there's a reason it's a classic. It's kind of a perfect movie. Even though it's not my personal favorite in terms of what I love from those, just in terms of quality, probably the best musical of all time, in my opinion. Okay, and then we get to kind of comedies / fun movies. So I think probably my two favorite, I would say I'm going to have a three-way tie for favorite movies because I think that these three very much capture what I like in my comedies. So I would say I'm going to start with Clue, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a cult classic. I remember I first saw that when I was probably 7 or 8 at like a church lock-in thing and like was obsessed with it, immediately memorized the entire thing. I absolutely love that movie. A problematic but still very enjoyable similar movie to that, by the way, is Murder by Death. If you've never seen that one and you love Clue, definitely look out for Murder by Death. Number 2 is Young Frankenstein. So Mel Brooks is just an all-time fave. I love most of his movies. They're not all perfect, but I love Young Frankenstein is my favorite, and it's something me and my mom always watch together. Like, we can quote the whole thing back and forth to each other. Young Frankenstein's my fave, probably followed by Men in Tights, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles. Like, the producers, obviously, duh, it's great. Yeah, Mel Brooks I just love his sense of humor. And then the third one would be Spinal Tap and/or Best in Show. Like, I love those mockumentaries. Like, again, something that me and my mom both love and quote back and forth to each other all the time is Best in Show. But this is Spinal Tap really is just like a classic, and for a good reason. So those are probably my three faves. And then other kind of like fun, like comedy things. I do really love Zoolander. So it's so dumb, but I do love it. And I tend to really like Ben Stiller comedies in general for like my lower end comedies. So like, I do also love Bridesmaids, by the way. Absolutely love Bridesmaids. And then like Zoolander, Tropic Thunder, Dodgeball, like those make me laugh. So there's that. And then in terms of romantic comedies, very basic bitch choices, but like when I was growing up, When Harry Met Sally or You've Got Mail came on, like that's what I was doing for the rest of that afternoon, like sitting down and watching them. And then on the similar line of things of like, if it comes on TV in the afternoon, like I will sit down and watch the whole thing. Jurassic Park. I just think of that as like a fun action movie that I absolutely adore. Then some insight. When I was a kid, the two big crushes I had, and also keep in mind I was growing up in the early 90s, my two first crushes were on Paul McCartney, like 60s era Paul McCartney, and like late 70s, early 80s era Harrison Ford, because I was obsessed with Indiana Jones and Star Wars. And actually, my favorite in both of those original trilogies, like we can talk about the sequels, it's a thing, but the original trilogies unquestionably my favorites were the last movies in those trilogies, which I know is not everyone's thing, but like Return of the Jedi and Last Crusade were absolutely my favorite in those two trilogies. I still love them. I still know all the lines. Like, also Harrison Ford in that era is just like a gift. Like, thank God for video, right? Because like he is recorded for posterity. Thank you, Steven Spielberg / George Lucas. Moving into music, I decided to go two routes with this. I decided to go with my 5 all-time favorite albums. It was very hard to narrow this down, so I have like sort of a cheat 6th album. So I'm going like with all-time faves, and then I thought I'd also just tell you, like, just to give you a sense of how random my personal music taste is at any given time, I thought I would just tell you like some of my most played songs of the last couple of months. So starting with all-time favorite albums, I actually made myself do these in order. So my all-time favorite album is Abbey Road by the Beatles, because the Beatles are my all-time favorite group. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I was not fully aware music was made past 1975 until I was probably like 12, just because like my dad always took me to and from school and that's all he listened to. So, and Abbey Road is my favorite album from the Beatles, and my all-time favorite song is on Abbey Road, which is Oh Darling. So That's my all-time favorite album, though really like the Beatles oeuvre probably deserves the first slot. Number 2 is Judy Garland's Live at Carnegie Hall. Like, that is just like the best live album I've ever heard. It is heartbreaking. The way her voice wobbles on Over the Rainbow when she gets to it towards the end is just like crushing. It's so good. So I really love Live at Carnegie Hall, Judy Garland's album. Number 3 is definitely Lemonade by Beyonce. It gives me all of my life. It is like one of the few albums that if I listen to one song, I have to listen to the entire thing. I love it top to bottom. The music video event that goes with it, like the movie that goes with it, is also amazing in terms of like the imagery. Ugh, I'm obsessed with that. Like, I love Lemonade. I love Beyonce in general, but like Lemonade is like that album in terms of like a whole album. Love it. Number 4, I'm gonna say, is the OG Phantom of the Opera cast recording with like Sarah Brightman and whatnot, because when I wasn't riding with my dad in his car, I was riding with my mom, and like she was listening to ABBA, In Vogue, and this album. So like I absolutely loved it. I think I'm not naturally a soprano, but basically because of this album, like I pushed myself into becoming a soprano for choir because I loved hitting those high notes with her. Loved that. And then I was trying to think of like what was like my number 1 sort of like angsty album as a teen, like high school into university, and it was definitely like anything from Sufjan Stevens, but I decided to pick Come On Feel the Illinois because I think that's probably his best album, or at least it's my favorite, so I picked that. And then in terms of like my cheating, Gungor recently did a 3-album concept thing that I also really loved. It's spiritual music. It's coming ostensibly from an originally Christian point of view, but like I would say that at this point it's not really that. It's more just like metaphysical kind of lyrics, very interesting, and like there's just some of the songs on there that I absolutely love and are just really beautiful, and you know, I just love that as a 3-album concept thing. I think one is spirit, one is soul, one is body, and yeah, it's just really good. Also, another side cheating recommendation is that we are coming into Advent, and Gungor is a part of something called the Liturgist, which is sort of like I would call it like progressive, post-evangelical, post-doctrinal music project. I absolutely love like the different holiday music that they do, and their Advent album Oh Light is great, and on it is an absolutely beautiful spoken word poem by, I think, Amina Brown called Advent for Weary Souls. She originally wrote it, I think, in 2015, and it literally gets more relevant every year since then, and it is beautiful. So if you're looking for some Christmas/Advent music, I would recommend that. Okay, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking really fast because I have a lot I want to get to, and I don't want this to be a forever long video. So moving into songs that I have been enjoying recently. So my like summer bop this year was very basic bitch, very like everybody. It was I Like It by Cardi B, like that was my jam, followed very closely by UFO by Stella Cole, which is sort of like alternative pop with like some hip hop beats. It's a really interesting song, and I really like her singing voice. Has a very interesting, almost like doo-wop-y quality to it, so I really liked that song. I also got randomly re-obsessed with some older songs. I don't know why, but in no particular order. MacArthur's Park by Donna Summer has been like my belter this summer, along with The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. Like on days where I just need to pump myself up to like believe in myself to go to work, like those have been on in my commute. I love both of those. And then again, like everybody else, I've been obsessed with Ariana Grande this summer. Her new album Sweetener was great. My 2 favorite songs from that were Sweetener was definitely my favorite from that album. Also, I loved God Is a Woman. Those were great. But then, of course, Thank You Next is just like one of the best pop songs of all time. I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I think it's filling a unique, you know what, we don't have time to get into this. It's a great song. Absolutely love that one. So Ariana Grande has been my bitch this summer. Another throwback is Till I Can Make It on My Own by Tammy Wynette, which is maybe one of the most like heartbreaking songs of all time. Like if you are in the mood, like I love older country. That tends to be more my jam, like some old school Dolly, Hank Williams, Johnny Cash. Like that's the era of country I tend to like. And Tammy Wynette is right up in there. And Till I Can Make It on My Own is like a crushing song. It's so good. That, and then what else? Oh yeah, then the other thing I've been like re-exploring is Bidi Bidi Bamba and Como la Flor by Selena, or as I always call her, Salinas, because that's from the movie, which I love. Anyway, I've been re-listening to her a lot. God, what a voice. What a loss. Anyway. Okay, so it looks like my footage was corrupted for the next little bit. So 3 other songs I've been listening to a lot recently. One is I'll Stand By You by The Pretenders because like classic, beautiful love song, amazing. The second one is Beyonce's cover of Rolling on the River by Tina Turner that she performed for Tina Turner at the Presidential Art Medal thing. YouTube it, it's amazing. In my mind when I dance, this is what I look like. I know that that's just in my mind, but the hair, all of it is perfection. And I have had this one song in my head for coming like a smooth 2 years now. It's actually, I think, been 2 years. And that is One, the finale of a chorus line. The song is called One, and like this song, like I think it'll be gone. And then one day I'll be like walking along and all of a sudden I'm like, one singular sensation. Like, I mean, it's just like a whole thing. So anyway, that's what got lost. Other songs I've been listening to. And then moving into TV. So I don't really watch as much TV as I used to. Really, the only non-reality show that I'm keeping up with at this point is Stranger Things on Netflix. Otherwise, it's all either reality TV or documentaries. Like, that's honestly mostly what I'm into at this point. I don't know why. That's just where my mind's at. Anything fictional, I tend to just want to get from books these days. But I do have some OG TV shows that, like, I have watched all of them. Like, I've watched every episode probably multiple times. I can quote most of these extensively. And they are Friends, duh. Gilmore Girls, yes. How I Met Your Mother, of course, because I also love Friends, so I also was obsessed with How I Met Your Mother. Going a little further back, OG Law & Order. I am not an SVU person, like it's too much, but OG Law & Order, particularly of like, duh, the Lenny Briscoe years, like that's my favorite. I love it when it's him, Benjamin Bratt is his partner, and Angie, what's-her-face, is the ADA. And then, of course, Sam Waterston, like the king of OG Law & Order. But anyway, so like that little era of Law & Order in particular, but like I used to rewatch that like it was my job. Love it. And then going even further back, I am obsessed with the Golden Girls, have been since I can remember. Murder, She Wrote similarly. You're probably learning from this that basically I'm an old woman. Like that, looking at this list, I'm like, I'm just old. That's what this boils down to. Whatever. Murder, She Wrote with Ange Lanz, who is my queen. She is my everything. When she leaves us, I will be devastated. And then in terms of like old school game show / reality show, The Match Game. I absolutely love that. Like when I was homesick, I would often watch that as like, you know, they would have little marathons on it on the Game Show Network. So those are my old TV faves. New TV faves, I think you can tell that the themes are cooking and fabulousness, basically. So cooking wise, my 2 faves are Nailed It and Great British Bake Off. Like, again, nothing original about either of those, but I am obsessed. I've watched many, many times through. Perfection. Then in terms of fabulousness, I absolutely adore The Real Housewives of New York City. I've loved various Real Housewives franchises over the course of my life, but currently New York, like they just, you know, why are you gagging so? They bring it to you every ball. Like every time they, like one episode of Real Housewives of New York City has more drama in it than half of these other franchises have in half a season. Like these women know how to give me what I want and I eat it up with a spoon. Love that. Hashtag Team Bethany over Team Carol from last season. Fight me. And then the other show that I am obsessed with is RuPaul's Drag Race. Like when we get to the YouTube portion of this, we'll get more into that. But like all things related to RuPaul's Drag Race, I love. I watched it when it was originally on VH1, which was the first season, and then it like went away, so I stopped watching. And then I found it again at the 4th season and was like, yes, I thought this got canceled. No, okay, awesome. Sharon Needles, give me my life. And I've been like a faithful viewer ever since then. It's so good. And then finally, Queer Eye, because I'm a human with a heart, and therefore, like, of course I love Queer Eye. It makes me weep. Like when I need a cathartic cry, I put on Queer Eye because like the feels, basically if you want to know how to make me cry faster than anything, have any kind of father-son like daddy issues will just like kill me, and that is half of what that show is. So like I just spend the entire time being like, your father really loves you, he just is so repressed by toxic masculinity, he doesn't know how to tell you. Like, anyway, it kills me. Okay guys, we're getting there. So, favorite podcasts. I have a lot of them. There's definitely clear themes here. Basically, the themes are like politics, pop culture, a little bit of keto. Politics-wise, recently I've been absolutely loving Why Is This Happening with Chris Hayes. You know what? I will link in the description box one to a recent episode he had about identity politics in the wake of Trump with a political social scientist who like has done data analysis about how race like plays into like it was fascinating, eye-opening, and low-key terrifying. That was a great episode. I think he just has really interesting people and he has very thoughtful discussions with those people on a variety of current event topics. Similarly, Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness, who is on Queer Eye. He has like a more kind of light take on the same type of thing where he just like, he's just curious about a lot of different topics and brings experts on, is similarly really great. I will link for him. He has had one guy on several times to talk about the situation in the Middle East as it develops every like 4 to 6 months. So helpful, like finally explained to me the difference between Shia and Sunni Muslims. I really like the Slate Political Gabfest, like that's kind of a basic bitch one, but I do really like it. Slow Burn is a fantastic historical political podcast that I also really like. And then The Good Fight with Yasha Monk, I think is his name, is very thought-provoking and specifically talking about like how to combat fascism and nationalism in the wake of those movements like really gaining speed in several different countries at once, and lots of fascinating conversations from it. Moving into sort of like more pop culture, like lifestyle-y things, the Slate Culture Gabfest, like that was a very formative show for me learning how to think critically about cultural things. I love Stephen Metcalf on that show. He's my goat. Love him. All About Agatha is a podcast about Agatha Christie. Now, I actually disagree quite a bit with some of the things that they say on that show in terms of like how they break things down. And I think that sometimes they have a fundamental lack of going with itness about certain books. But that being said, very thoughtful analysis. And I always find it very engaging. I mean, like, it's very thought-provoking and engaging, so I think that's great. Oh No, Ross and Carrie is a great show, and it basically is about investigating, like, going undercover and doing investigations of, like, fringe science and claims of the supernatural, and, like, cults and things like that. Super interesting, really enjoy that show. Whimsically Volatile is Katya Zomolichkova. I think that's how you say her name. It's her podcast with her buddy Craig, and oh my gosh, like, Katya is unquestionably my favorite Rue girl, and so it's a great podcast. They had Jasmine Masters on recently, the Zhuzh. It was so good. Yes, okay, so Whimsically Volatile is a new one that I really enjoy. And then Dear Prudence, which is an advice podcast that I really like. It's with Daniel Mallory Ortberg, and I think it's got a lot of really thoughtful advice. I don't always agree with the advice that he ultimately ends up giving people, but it's definitely very interesting. And then in terms of just lifestyle, my two favorite keto podcasts right now are Fast Keto with Ketogenic Girl and Keto for Normies from Keto Connect. So, bunch of podcasts. I do listen to a lot of podcasts, so it was hard to pick ones. Transitioning out of media for a moment, we will come back to it, and into just thing favorites. Now, I thought about doing like favorite keto foods or whatever. I think I might make that a separate video because I know some of you guys just don't care about that, whatever. I did decide to go ahead and put makeup in here just because I get a lot of questions about my makeup and faves and all that, so here are some of my favorite color products. I didn't do any like base things because I think those are much more idiosyncratic. Favorite single shadow is actually this one in particular, which is Telepathy from ColourPop. This is a Super Shock shadow, and I really recommend Super Shock shadows for people who just want a one over the lid color. These are great. My favorite matte formula ever is the Dose of Colors 5-pan palettes in a few different colors. This one is in Marvelous Mauves. Partly what I'm wearing today is the Sassy Siennas in this formula. I think those are just like beautifully creamy matte eyeshadows. My favorite shimmer formula that I've ever found is the Viseart 12 pans. This one is, I think, Bohem Dream. And these are obscenely expensive, so I wait until we have a Sephora sale and or gift cards to get them, but it is just like a beautiful shimmer formula. Their matte formula is also very beautiful. I just happen to prefer the Dose of Colors. Favorite individual palette, like if everything in my collection was gone, I could only keep one thing, it would be this Yes Please palette from ColourPop. I think this is like $12 or $16, and the quality of these shadows is fantastic. You can do everything from day to day to full-on glam with this, and this is just, I think, a beautiful palette that mostly geared towards probably medium to fair, but I think there's enough in here that you could make it work if you have deeper skin, though I'm not an expert in that, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my, like, if I could only have one palette, this would be it. In terms of an overall brand never letting me down, Oh, this is a Colored Rain shadow randomly in here. This is what I used on the lid today. But I just grabbed a couple of my Juvia's Place ones that I've depotted. I just think for the price and overall just quality, consistency, Juvia's Place has got you covered. And then my two favorite recent acquisitions, one for the color story and one just for the quality. This Dragon Child palette, which was from Makeup Monsters Cosmetics, and they've rebranded to be Menagerie Cosmetics, so it is cruelty-free, vegan, all that. The quality of these mattes is almost as good as the Dose of Colors, and maybe even better, to be honest, in terms of the types of colors these are. The pigmentation is just like really, really excellent. I think that this is a really fun color story, and I just have really enjoyed having this for more colorful looks. And then my favorite sort of indie release on a more day-to-day kind of level is the Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics. I got this as my like, I need this for fallness. Like, look at that. This mochi color is my everything, followed very closely by Lorelei. This is like a kind of yellowy mustardy green, and this is like a browny mustardy yellow, and like, they're beautiful. Quality on this is really nice. On both of these, actually. These are both indie releases and they're really nice. A couple of face product faves. I would say in general, the balm blushes are just really nice. They have a 50% off sale, usually 2 to 3 times a year. These blushes are like famously great and for good, like just beautiful quality. I think you can get these at Kohl's in the US anyway. This is Frat Boy. This is a great everyday color. And then highlighters from Ofra cannot be beat just in terms of like beauty. This is my Rodeo Drive one. It fell out of its original packaging, which is why it's in this thing. I love this. This is just such a beautiful highlight. It is verging on too dark for me, so I mostly wear this during the summertime, but like, God, I love that thing. And then finally, lip colors. I have probably 4 favorite formulas. Today, I am wearing the Dose of Colors Matte Liquid Lip in Bury Me. This formula is my very favorite liquid lipstick formula. It is so good. The pigmentation is great. They last a long time, both on the lips and just in the tube. They stay good for a long time. This is great. Followed closely by the Balms Meet Matte Hues. This is my favorite color, which is Sensational. These are beautiful. They also have like this really great minty smell to them, which is fun. So those are my favorite liquid lips. My favorite glossy type product are NARS Velvet Lip Glides. These are a really unique formula. This is in Bound, which is like my everyday color. I keep this in my purse. It's between a gloss and a liquid lip. You need to be a little careful with these if it's not a nude color for you, because they do travel outside the lip line a little bit. So you may need to baby these a little bit, but I just think that they're beautiful. They go on beautiful. Pigmentation is great. And then finally, my favorite bullet lipstick formula is the Urban Decay Vice lipsticks. They're just really nice quality. This is in Oblivion, by the way. Great quality. They stay a long time. They have lots of different finishes. And then I would say my runner-up in terms of a bullet lipstick would be, if you're looking for a red, Besame Cosmetics makes gorgeous lipsticks. They are wonderful quality. They don't have a great color variety. They stick to reds because all of their colors are based on old-timey colors. And so mostly the old-timey colors were reds. Anyway, that's all my makeup faves right now. And then finally for my non-bookish faves, non-booktube YouTube faves. Let's start with anything related to drag queens. So like the entirety of the WoW Presents network, I enjoy. In particular, I love and obsessed with whatever. So glad it's back on YouTube. I think it works much better on YouTube than it did on Viceland, to be honest. I think that might be common knowledge. I feel a little bit bad, but I just think the format works better on YouTube. When I am sad, like in the last couple of years, as like I've had friends die, my father be sick, all of that, it is the thing that can consistently make me laugh. The porno episode, I will link it below. Literally, I have seen that probably 100 times at this point, and I die laughing every time when they start making those noises into the microphone. Like, I just can't help it. It's so funny to me. I love that. I also love Movie Bitches. They do RuPaul Drag Race recaps. I really enjoy those. I don't always agree with their opinions or whatever, but I enjoy the format, I enjoy those shows, and I enjoy rewatching the old seasons with them. So that's fun. They also do great movie reviews. Like, it's a fun channel in general. Moving into current favorite makeup channels, I would say my 3 faves right now are Angelica Nyquist. She's definitely my fave right now. I really love her. She's from Sweden. She is very no bullshit, and she does lots of colorful looks, which I enjoy. makeup struggles is so wonderful. I'm glad that she's back to posting more consistently. She makes me laugh. She's great. And then a smaller channel that I've been watching since she probably had like 500 subscribers and now she's at like 11,000. So you get it, girl, is Smoky Glow. I think she's fantastic. I also really love her drama videos. Like, I really like her approach to doing drama videos. And then two like kind of pop culture / movie related channels that I really love. One is Lindsay Ellis, which, not an original opinion, she's great. She has a lot of subscribers, but I love her analysis of movies. Like, it's just wonderful. And then Jenny Nicholson, really, I enjoy like how unique her videos are. And she does talk a lot about like gaming and sort of like geek movie culture stuff, but she always has a really unique take on it. So even if I don't like know anything about what she's talking about, I still enjoy the videos. And then finally, this is the last of my faves. Two channels that are sort of like more like argumentative or philosophical. I'm not quite sure how you would talk about them, but ContraPoints I've recently discovered and have been really enjoying her content. I think she had recently, I'll link a video of hers below, of her video about pronouns and transgendered identity. I thought that that was a really helpful video, and I think it gives you a sense of kind of like, I think she used to be in academia. She has a very like philosophical take on things, but she presents it in a very like campy, interesting way. So she's great. And then H. Homburg guy has a few videos that I've really enjoyed, combating like a lot of the rational community bullshit that goes on that really is just like an excuse to be anti-woman and anti like non-sad white guy. So he has a lot of those videos, but the one that I want to link is about why the show Sherlock is not a good TV show. And I will warn you, this video ruined Sherlock for me, but basically just told me what I'd always suspected but didn't want to believe. Because I like have a lot of enjoyment of Sherlock, and I was enjoying it until the middle of the 3rd season, then was like, oh no, this is going so wrong. And then by the 4th season was just like, oh no, this is terrible. And he like really breaks down and deconstructs why, and it was very interesting. So I definitely recommend it. It's a smooth 2 hours, but it's 2 hours I enjoyed. Whew. Okay guys, that was a journey. It may have been a mistake to try to get all of my categories of faves into one video now that I am reflecting on this, but like, live and learn. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video pretty well. Now we come to the part that half of you were just waiting for, maybe clicked ahead for, whatever, which is the giveaway piece. So I did this when I hit 1,000 subscribers and I wanted to do it again, which is I have a little grouping of books that I have enjoyed recently that I thought that I would share. So I have the first book in the March graphic novel trilogy, which is a graphic novel memoir of John Lewis. I have Sight Witch by Susan Dennard, which is a YA immersive, like high fantasy. This is the prequel novella / short novel, and I think you should read this before you read the whole series, so I'm trying to enforce this by putting it in here. And then we'll come back to this one. The Haunting of Hill House was like one of my very favorite reads this fall. I absolutely loved it. It was a book I read as a teenager and really loved, but I loved even more upon my reread, so I thought I would share that. And then The Bone Season is a book that I don't know exactly when this is going up, but I am planning to read soon, and so I thought it might be fun to give somebody a copy of a book that I'm about to read. I don't know, I just thought that might be a little bit different. So anyway, these 4 books are what will be included in the giveaway. I will have all the rules and whatnot in the description box below of how to enter, the rules about like who you have to be to enter, all that stuff that you have to say. Basically, the bottom line is leave me a comment below letting me know maybe one of your favorite things ever, and be subscribed. I will announce the winner 2 weeks from now on my Instagram. That's what I will do. So stay tuned for that. And open internationally, open to really anyone over 18. Let's do this. So yeah, this is just my way of saying thank you for subscribing. And also, you know, I'm a book pusher and I like to make people read books that I like. So it's an opportunity to try to force my taste on someone else, which is good times, right? That was like a journey. I hope somebody enjoyed this. I enjoyed talking about a lot of my favorite things, so it was fun for me. And again, just thank you so much. I love having you guys all along for the journey. I just really enjoy this. This is such a fun hobby for me, and you guys are what make it fun, so thank you so much. Anyway, if you did enjoy this, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and you will need it to be able to enter the giveaway and to win whatnot. So yeah, hope you guys are having a really great day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!